You can affect your crew every single day, and your crew can affect your shift every single day. Your shift can affect your station every single day. So I really think as long as you have that mentality of I'm a leader, but I expect everybody around me to be a leader as well, then I think you don't run into as many of those personnel issues that you have to deal with on the back end.
Enchanted Sky Media.
From the Enchanted Sky Studios in Prescott, Arizona, this is Code 3, the Firefighters Podcast, hosted by award-winning journalist Scott Orr. Code 3 features interviews with leading members of the fire service, discussing firefighting strategies, tactics, and other topics you need to know more about. Now, here's Scott.
That's right, and I will not let Parkinson stop me. Thank you for joining me again here on Code 3. This is the show for and about firefighters. We're informing and entertaining members of the fire service, just like you, from coast to coast. What does it take to be a fire officer? There's more to it than just giving orders, of course, and most good officers realize that from the outset. In fact, being a great officer could be considered a skill or even an art. My guest today wrote a post for the Firefighter Nation website about the art of being a fire officer. Kirk Galatas is interim assistant chief at the Mulkill Fire Department in Washington State. He began his career as a firefighter with the U.S. Air Force right out of high school. He's also worked as a volunteer firefighter. And Kirk Galatas joins me now. Thanks for being on Code 3.
It's my pleasure.
How did you come to think of being a fire officer as an art form?
It kind of started just with agreeing to have Mike Gagliano from Seattle Fire come teach us his class, The Art of Go, No Go. And it just got me thinking of other books that had been titled The Art of, whatever, including The Art of War, Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, just a whole bunch of other titles. And I think it's just a catchy little title more than anything, but it also encapsulates a lot of the uncertainties of what we do as fire officers.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would think of a fire officer as being more of a science than an art. But is there really an art to being a good fire officer?
I believe that there is. I think that it takes a continuous improvement of your skills. I think we should all kind of be like, Leonardo Da Vinci walking around the streets, never wanting to say that his project is complete because it's just always can be improved. So if you want to be a true artist, then you have to kind of keep working on your art form. And I know personally I'll never get to where I want to be as a company officer. So I consider it an art form to keep working at it.
What are some of the characteristics that define an excellent officer, one who's an artist?
Ooh, that's a great question. Like you said before, I think some people say that it could be considered a science, but I think so many of the variables that we encounter on a daily basis, whether it's personnel issues or emergency responses or just kind of planning the day out and having to deal with everything that comes up, is just not something you can easily put into a checklist. We don't come here and just punch a clock and do the same thing over and over and the day never changes. The day's actually never the same. So I think it takes a little bit of kind of creativity and artwork to make it all happen and make it happen well.
There's definitely some artistry to dealing with personnel issues. I'm curious how you feel about ways to handle problems. Are you more of a disciplinarian or a counselor, or where do you fall on the scale?
Very much not on the disciplinarian part of it. My philosophy comes a little bit from a few books that I've read. I'm a big reader, so one of the books that's had the biggest impact on me is Turn This Ship Around. And at the Admiral, and I don't remember his name right now, but he talks a lot about, you're not trying to create followers. You're not trying to gain power and create followers. You're trying to give power and create leaders. And that's kind of my philosophy too now is I'm creating my replacement every single day in everything that we do around here.
That's interesting. It's definitely a different philosophy than a lot of people have, because a lot of people do believe they are trying to create followers. Does it take a certain level of self-confidence to create your successors every day?
I think so. I think to give away the power that you earned, and any company officer in the fire service has probably earned it. They don't just give it away. So I think to willingly give away that power and say, hey, we've done the training, we've earned each other's trust, we've put in the hard work, and now I need you to go out there and be the leader, and hopefully someday when I retire, you're better at it than I ever was. That's my ultimate goal every day that I come to work, is to just kind of make that perfect company officer, and I probably won't succeed at that either, but I'm going to try pretty much every day that I come to work.
There are people who would say that attitude leads toward being friends with your subordinates rather than having them be subordinates. What sort of situation do you find yourself in terms of being friends or just being their boss?
I think that you can do both. I mean, I think it takes a little bit of professionalism to draw the line when it needs to be drawn, but I think as long as everybody's on the same page of what we're doing here, and one of the things, this sounds a little bit corny, but one of the things that I've kind of stressed a lot lately is, let's talk about why we're here. What is the vision of the fire department? We know what the mission is. The mission of fire departments across the country are pretty much the same. We all kind of respond to the same types of emergencies and do the best we can with the cards that we're given. But I think a lot of departments have different visions, and as long as we're kind of on the same page and everybody is lined up with the same vision, then I've never really had a problem with somebody kind of straying from that. And if they stray from that, it gives you the framework to say, hey, are we on the same page here? Are we trying to accomplish the same goals?
Now, by way of example, give me what you see your department's vision as.
Our vision is pretty simple. It's on paper, it's called to achieve excellence in public service. And so, for example, if one of our firefighters made a choice throughout the day that he truly believed what he was trying to provide was excellent public service. And, we get a lot of examples of these in the press where we mow somebody's grass, or we carry their groceries, or whatever the case might be. I think as long as they are trying to accomplish that vision of us achieving that excellence, then, man, they're going to have my support all the way.
I'll be back with more right after this. This is the part of the show where I have to remind you that Code 3 is listener supported. It's a major way this show makes money. Now look, I don't think anybody downloads a new Code 3 episode and is real excited to hear me ask you to pay for a free podcast. This is the part that you sit through while you patiently wait for the good stuff to come back on, or the part that you just fast forward through. Nobody likes it. I hear you, and here's the secret. I hate doing it. Do you think I'd rather be pitching you for cash right now or talking to my guest about saving lives and property? But I've got to pay the rent and keep the lights on, so I have to do it. I think the best way to solve this problem is to set a price at which this portion of the episode is no longer necessary. So here's the deal. When this show's listeners pledge a total of $500 a month through Patreon, I'll stop asking for money. How does that sound? If you can help, if you get something out of this show, and if you also want the Bull Session bonus content, go over to code3podcast.com/support and make your monthly pledge, and help me cut this segment out of the show. Thanks. It sounds like your guys have the attitude that they're never off duty in some form or another. Is that accurate?
Yeah, today especially. I mean, there just is no off duty. We see it with the social media issues and the off duty criminal charges and all that, the first line of any of those kind of issues that come up in the press is such and such fire department, and nobody wants that. It takes one of those events to set a fire department back a long way. So I truly believe that you're allowed to go off duty and you're allowed to have your own personal life, and everybody kind of respects that and encourages that. But remember that the fire service isn't just a job. It's not even just a career. We're all fully vested in this, and we all want the same results long term, so we can't have the bad press.
Well, it's true. Every newspaper headline starts with so-and-so firefighter arrested for whatever. It's never so-and-so accountant arrested for fighting or so-and-so street sweeper arrested for alcohol. It's always firefighter or police officer. Exactly.
And each time, you hear about a fire department that has that one person, and you're like, man, I know that fire department. I know, lots of people in it, and that is not the fire department I know. But now they're going to have to deal with that issue because it's out there.
So is there, in the onboarding process or the ongoing process, a time in which you would, for instance, say, you're always under the microscope?
No, I can't say that there is. That's probably something we should add. It's more of, I think, a general kind of, when you're here, you're part of the team. So I think it's something we stress without specifically saying it, but we probably should. We're a rather small department, so we don't have like the traditional, here's our onboarding process, and we're going to make sure everybody signs this document to say that they've have that agreement, what they're going to do on and off duty. But that's a good question, and we probably should look at something like that.
It sounds as though what you're saying is that you've built a culture that understands that concept implicitly, at least among your guys specifically.
Yeah, and I brought him up before, but Mike Gagliano, my first exposure to him was a class that he called Firehouse Excellence, and it really is that, hey, people have this big problem in the fire service where they think they can't affect huge change, but when you boil it down to that smallest component, you can affect huge change. I mean, you can affect your crew every single day, and your crew can affect your shift every single day, and your shift can affect your station every single day. So I really think as long as you kind of have that mentality of, I'm a leader, but I expect everybody around me to be a leader as well, then I think you don't run into as many of those personnel issues that you have to deal with on the back end. And it makes life just a lot more fun to be around, too.
It sounds like what you're saying is that there's an art to being a firefighter as well.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
All right, Kirk Galatas, thanks for talking with me today on Code 3.
Hey, it's been my pleasure.
And we put some more information about the art of being a fire officer on our website at code3podcast.com/art. Check it out. All right, that's it. That's all for this edition of Code 3. Hey, I'd love to hear what you think of the show. Just email me, scott@code3podcast.com. I read them all and I respond to them all. Thank you for listening. I'll be back next time with more. I'm Scott Orr, and until then, stay safe.
Code 3 is a production of Enchanted Sky Media. To contact us, get more information on today's topic, or subscribe to the podcast, go to code3podcast.com.